We'll wait for some people to come online here for a minute, and hopefully this is showing for everybody here. Make sure my volume's okay. We'll get a link here and put it on Twitter as well. There we go. That should be going. Anybody here? It looks like I see some thumbs up coming in here. Heavy snow, Lakewood, Washington. Anthony Edwards is here. Snow in South Hill, Puyallup. Yeah, this is what happens when you get Arctic air around the Pacific Northwest. You get these additional waves of moisture coming off of the Pacific Ocean here, and I'll show you why here in a moment. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery. You see all this Arctic air pouring off the BC coastline here. It's picking up some of this moisture out the Pacific. It becomes unstable, and it can easily develop these small little waves, as you see what we're going through right now here across western Washington. You see some of that activity starting to move into Oregon here. Might get some snow showers down to the Willamette Valley. Shouldn't stick too much, mainly for the coastal range out there. But it's starting to stick on the grass here. I'm at 33 degrees here at my house. Tacoma's snowing good right now. Flores, Cascade, Fairwood. 6 to 10 inches of snow in Lakewood. 2 inches in Lakewood. Well, oh, you're saying the forecast. Okay, got you. Yep. Okay, yeah, Northern California, especially the higher terrain, is going to get some precip in the form of snow for sure. You can see the winter weather advisories out for a lot of the Puget Sound right now, not including the Willamette Valley, but it does include the coastal range as well. And we've got models saying different things here coming up as well. It's also going to get cold tomorrow morning also. And this is going to be the wind chill on through Thursday morning, if you guys can see that there. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be there might be somewhat of a break behind this wave here, but then the Euro has this next wave impacting Seattle through tonight. We'll look at that here in a moment. Also, the HRRR shows it staying south, but the HRRR also wasn't picking up this a few hours ago as well. So the models have not been doing well with this new batch of moisture moving in here that's causing some of the headaches around the area for people. This is, you know, we got these winter weather advisories up now. And kind of catching people by surprise a little bit here. I mean, it's not sticking too much up here in Normandy Park, Seattle just yet. I got the Wonderground map up here. It looks like it's colder down towards Olympia and some of the South Sound areas, South Central Sound areas here. But we're starting to get that north wind. We should cool down a bit as we go through tonight also. You can see the 33 degrees at my house right now. Let's actually see if it shows. Yeah, I've been stuck at 33 for a few hours, at least a couple hours here now. Jose Beltran says sticking in Lakewood. Gene Cold Wet 43. Thanks for the support, Devin. Snow here, but not sticking yet in Kitsap. Yeah, it's just sticking on the grass here a little bit and a little slush on my deck. But nothing too crazy yet, but I'm interested to see what happens tonight. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's just go ahead and look at the European here. I want to show you it's actually picking up some of this activity now. It kind of gives us a break, but then quickly tonight it brings some more snow across the region here on through Thursday morning here across the Puget Sound. You can see it still continuing across some of the coastal range of Oregon. Cascades, not very heavy amounts here, but there might be some locally heavier amounts in there. Bonnie Lake snowing 31, sticking everywhere. Oh, if you guys go onto Twitter and if you send me images of it sticking on the road, I will post them on the live stream here. So I'll put that in the message here. Post images of current snow falling and I'll show them on my live stream. Just to give everybody a heads up, if you want to post those, I'll post them on here so everybody can see what's going on around certain areas. But yeah, the models are kind of waffling back and forth a little bit here still too. The European has been, it's been showing some snow coming around tomorrow morning, as you see there. And if we roll through what the European's expecting snow-wise, this is about 7 o'clock tonight, 03Z. And if we go a little bit further, you can see it start to pile up a little bit as you get into tomorrow morning, calling for almost 2 inches there at SeaTac. In some areas near Tacoma, maybe I-5 down south of Olympia, back on the foothills, Covington, off down towards Spanaway, Often the Cascades goes without saying. Really, the mountains are getting pretty good doses of snowfall here. Then a little bit more comes through Friday night, it looks like, on the latest European run. But there's going to be another storm rolling through here as well. Dry downtown Redmond. No snow in Portland right now. A lot of wind and rain. Also sunshine. I mean, you might see some snow showers out of this. There's probably not a lot of accumulating snow on the way here this round as we see it. This is not usually the typical setup where Portland gets a bunch of snow. I mean, we need a well-placed low with the Arctic air moving down behind it, or you need some kind of cold air built up behind the Cascades here and then flow back through the gorge here back into the Willamette Valley. It tends to be their best setups. Trash day tomorrow delayed. Nothing in Woodburn, Oregon. Heavy accumulation in Olympia, says Seattle, USA. Yeah, tons of snow in the mountains here showing up. And look at the Doppler again here. This is the Langley radar, so I'm trying to pick out what's coming up out here. And this could be some of this next moisture that may move in. The Europeans showing a slight break behind this. And then the next system rolling in here. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and look at the Camino Island radar here as well. Loading up, here it goes. You can see this is what's bringing that snowfall. Probably some locally heavier amounts. If you're underneath one of these bands of the green and yellow, you're definitely going to be seeing some heavier snowfall rates as we go. So it's going to slack off here a little bit, but you can see down towards Federal Way, it might be starting to pick up a bit more recently. So you can see here, or it could be more mixed with rain depending on your temperature down there as well as your elevation. Slushy 1.5 on the grass there. Somerset. Yeah, I see Jose keep posting that about 2 inches of snow per hour in Oregon, or not in Oregon, but Lakewood. And are you hearing that from somewhere? Let's go ahead and take a look at Seattle, Tacoma. You can see the winter weather advisories. We'll go ahead and click down there, Tacoma Federal Way area winter weather advisory. Calling for 1 to 3 inches, locally higher amounts possible, and persistent showers or high elevations. So right now, Jose, your forecast 1 to 3 in that area right now. But again, you could get some locally higher amounts depending on if you're on a high hill as well, or if you get underneath any one of those bands. But you can see Seattle's included in this winter weather advisory, so we could see this start to change over to snow as we go through the evening hours tonight, and then potentially get on through tomorrow morning. And you can see the National Weather Service map here. You can see down towards Chehalis 1 to 2, Olympia 1 to 2. But again, there could be some locally higher amounts in there as well. And if you're heading out to the coastline, that Highway 12 gets pretty high in elevation there too. Aberdeen might pick up some. Might even see some snow all the way out to the coastline here too. Look at this, Forks 2 to 3 inches, Queets 1 to 2, Nia Bay. Maybe a little bit of additional snow up towards Everett even as we go on through the evening tonight. In Paradise, another 6 to 8. Yeah, pretty interesting. There's always a couple surprises here when you get Arctic air into the region here. This is out for eastern Washington here too. This was as early today on into tomorrow. It's kind of interesting. They put that Okanagan River Valley outflow wind in there too, blowing drifting snow near Omak tonight. Generally light amounts along I-90 until you get out towards Spokane a little bit further, or towards the Cascades. Do you accept weather picks anywhere other than Twitter? I don't really have anything else going on right now, so I don't have any other way to get it, but let me check to see if anybody sent anything on here. South Vancouver Island, that's kind of an interesting image there. So I just got sent this one. Virga cloud over Vancouver Island just before sunset. Nice image there. I'll open up this one. I got one from Maple Valley here. Nice coating there, already on the streets and everything. That's a nice little snowfall going on out there in Maple Valley right now. Thank you, Mark. Snowing in Lacey, Washington right now too. Yeah, this is coating everything, even the street out there. So it must be just probably about 31 degrees out there, looks like. Close that one out. There's that Virga picture. Let me update my weather station here. It's been kind of hovering around 33, but it's dropped from 36 earlier this afternoon as well. Back to the chat here. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in here. Just trying to get everybody's what's going on around the area here. This is for, actually, let's back up a little bit here. Let's go to, we'll just do this. We'll back up, and here's Portland. You can see they have the special weather statement down here through the Willamette Valley. Now I have a lot of people that watch through the Willamette Valley and for Portland, Vancouver down there. So they're talking about maybe some light accumulations on higher hills, but otherwise you might see it snowing, but it shouldn't accumulate too much down here through the Willamette Valley. Sorry about that. But if you go off to the east a bit here, you see the winter weather advisories and eventually winter storm warnings over the Oregon Cascades. So the higher you get, the better chances you are, including the coastal range there too. I think they were calling for, let's see, let's click on that, winter weather advisory. 4 to 6 inches there off into the coastal range. Willapa Hills, Washington. So yeah, not a bad little snowfall going out there. Tillamook, you had a thunderstorm out there today. That's nice. Yeah, what is the wind direction here at my house too? Let's check that out. Yeah, we got northeast wind here right now. So definitely some cooler air will be filtering in here. Got good air quality out there. Had some pretty good wind last night. Gusted 36 miles per hour here. Half an inch steady in Federal Way. The Weatherman 2. The Weatherman 2. He is active on Twitter there. Let's see. I will go check that one out right now. I'll just update this. Maple Valley, another one from Maple Valley there. How come I'm not seeing your... Oh, maybe it's on here. Let's see. There we go. There's Federal Way right now. That's a nice little coating starting up down there also. That's more than what we have here in Normandy Park. Let's back out. There's another one from Maple Valley here. Open a new image. Got Maple Valley here. That is definitely a more than I have here at home. That's for sure. Snowing in Duval, Pacific Northwest weather lover. Moderator here. 3 inches in Enumclaw. Racer Girl still has tons from yesterday and last night. Cougar Mountain. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys have out there now? Green Boy says 5 to 8 inches for Cougar Mountain. I mean, you could definitely get several inches out there tonight at high elevation. We got 13 inches accumulated at the base of Rattlesnake Mountain in North Bend. Yeah, I like that hike out there, Rattlesnake Ledge. Looking good tomorrow early morning. Overperformance is loading. Yeah, once Arctic air gets into the Pacific Northwest, man, it's always a surprise. This is what we're looking at now. You can kind of see there's BC, really cold air locked up there. You see it spilling off the coast, which you can see there on the satellite imagery here, just rolling across Pacific and then swinging back into the Pacific Northwest there. And then you can see that clearly here. So you put that into motion, you kind of see this cold air trying to move down into the region here. You get some cold air aloft across the Willamette Valley, but it just might be too warm at the surface there, but you might see it snow, and you might even get a thunderstorm here the next day or two as well. Snowing all day in Cougar Mountain, probably an inch or two. Nike missile site. I don't know about that. In Spokane, we have a wintry mix in downtown, but getting snow above 2,000. Okay. What's Spokane's elevation there? I forget offhand. Light snow on East Capitol Hill, 309 feet. Brian Hicks is here. Yeah, they got pretty quite a bit of snow up there last night, especially places like North Bend too. That east wind was really ripping out there on exit 38 there at the Tesla supercharger out there. But yeah, that's what's going on now. You see this cold Arctic air spilling out. That's what's causing. You can get these little tiny spin ups here. You know, this little tiny development brings some moisture in off the ocean here. It's been pretty persistent through much of the afternoon. It's been snowing here much of the afternoon and evening in Normandy Park. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of black ice and refreezing of the snow and the moisture on the road tomorrow morning. So heads up for that, everybody. Yeah, you see some areas already down probably just below freezing out there out in Maple Valley. That's why that snow is sticking so nicely there. Bonanza, Oregon, 4,600 feet, just started to spit snow. I just have trace on the grass right now. There's not much on this. There's nothing on the cement right now. Yeah, it's pretty chilly today. I mean, we got to like what 36 here, and I'm not very far from the Puget Sound, so that was kind of pretty chilly day. Let me check the Twitter again here, and let's see if there's any more images. Update this. So I'll go here and we'll do this. Pullman, Washington. That looks like a nice coating of snow building up there. Looks like somebody was plowing the field out there today. Nice snowfall. Yeah, I like downtown Seattle, actually. I mean, there's some homeless people, but it's pretty nice otherwise. I'm reading the comments here, so... So downtown Spokane is about 1959. North Spokane, 2161. 9 inches on the ground out there. Nice. Yeah, I got to make the comfort food out when it gets all snowy and cold. I'm working on getting a new desktop. My desktop is... Can you guys hear this thing firing up? I'll be quiet for a minute. My desktop is old and I need to get a new one here, so I'm gonna like start trying to scrap together some money, because the fans kind of really disrupt some of my briefings in the morning. So maybe I should do like a GoFundMe and have somebody have some people help me out to try to buy a new computer. This thing is a mess. Sounds like a lawnmower going on. 3 inches of wet snow overnight in Everett. Jose is here. Tree damage. Yeah, it doesn't take much snow, especially the wet, dense variety, to start breaking branches. Yeah, maybe I'll just put a little poll on here or something. I mean, I don't like asking people for money and stuff like that or anything, but it might be something. My wife was asking me about it, saying it was something kind of fun to do, to put it out there and see who would help, but I'm not looking forward to building a new desktop. Oh yeah, what's your guys' best... Man, this computer is loud. So what's your guys' best website to check the power outages here? What do you guys like the best? I know there's a few. We have a map on here for... Yeah, there's some. Looks like mainly east of Seattle there. North and east, there's still some power outages going on up there. It doesn't look too bad. It looks up by Skykomish Highway 2. Some of the peninsula also. Oh, thanks Mark for basic channel support. Thank you very much. Yeah, not cheap and very time consuming. I was looking at processors today and they're kind of crazy expensive when you buy the motherboard and the memory and all that stuff. Snohomish County PUD outage map. Getting snow here in Grants Pass. Last night, ton of people lost power. Yeah, I had some friends up north that lost power too, and then it came back this morning. This looks like just in the southern Puget Sound area up towards Everett, down towards Olympia, Tumwater. Looks like 7,700 about. Yeah, the places up by Monroe got some good snowfall totals, some locally heavy amounts there. It's pretty crazy. 8 inches is quite a bit of snow. Jesse Landry, thanks for the support. Here is this morning's. Let's look at this morning's UW 1.33 kilometer. It's pretty amazing, this map here. It's, I mean, you can see the individual, you know, Cougar Mountain, Tiger Mountain back in here, North Bend. It picks up these terrain features really well. But look, as we go on into this Thursday morning time frame here, kind of just gets up towards SeaTac, includes Kent. That would include Covington, Four Corners, North Bend, Issaquah. Just east of 405 would include some areas of Olympia, I-5, Tacoma, and even onto I-5 just north of Tacoma there. And you kind of see that north and easterly wind component. So we're going to cool down a bit tonight. And down by Centralia could get kind of a disruptive snowfall through tomorrow morning. They're looking like some of the Willapa Hills here, Cascades, of course. Doesn't look like much for Seattle Everett calling for here. But again, if we get back up, let's back up to what, it's 5 o'clock right now. We have snowfall going on in Maple Valley, for example. And I have a little bit here even next to the Puget Sound. Some places down in Tacoma sound like they're getting some. Olympia also. So you can see the models are not picking this up that well. 6 inches on Snoqualmie Ridge. I had 1.3 yesterday. 1.3 inches. It was pretty good snowfall in the morning. Then it melted as the day went on. Trees breaking up by Linwood. So it is snowing in downtown Seattle, but it's not sticking on anything, I don't imagine. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, if you have Twitter, you can find me at Seattle Weather Guy. I'll put my name on here. You can tell me some tricks and tips about getting a new. That's my Twitter handle there, and you could DM me on that if you wanted to. I'm up for like information about not getting ripped off trying to buy a desktop. But you guys can probably hear this fan firing up at times. This computer sounds like it's going to explode on me. It's about 5 years old. Maybe 6. 5-6 inches, about 1,000 feet in Issaquah. Well, you might see some snow going through the next few days, but it's probably not going to stick too much down towards Portland. But even places like Vader and north towards Centralia and Olympia could get some snowfall tonight into tomorrow morning on I-5 there. Night owl said sticking in Tacoma. How cold will it get tonight? Well, it depends on where you are. Let's look at the temperature map here in the European. Where did I have it? I think it was right here. So this is current. You can see this is actually a little bit behind as well because I'm 33, Normandy Park. We know Maple Valley's below freezing. We know Tacoma's down towards freezing. Federal Way also is probably right at 32. So this is actually kind of delayed as well. So put that into motion. You can see as we go into tomorrow morning, much of the Puget Sound is below freezing. Still above freezing for Portland down the I-5 corridor. But I think that if the snow is falling here along the I-5 corridor, it's probably going to be right about freezing. So it'll probably stick. And then as we go into Thursday, you can see it warm up mid-30s, but not much more for a lot of the Puget Sound. Willamette Valley, upper 30s. And we go on into Friday morning and watch this. Look at this cold air really settle down across some of the areas we go into Friday morning. It's into the mid-20s here. Pretty hard freeze coming for the Puget Sound. Look at Bellingham, Abbotsford up into the teens up there. Willamette Valley should be below freezing at that point too. You can't fully rule out some snowfall as this entire system moves down to the south here and the colder air moves in Friday morning, even across some of the Willamette Valley, but I don't think it will stick that much. Wenatchee here, ski area got 9 inches last night. Town got about 6. Blue sky northwest of Anacortes over Orcas. kind of far out. Let's see. So let's look at, okay, let's back out a little bit here. Where were we? So this is the European, the 12Z here. You can see, the good snows really were piling up in the Oregon Cascades today and through tonight. And you can see that continuing. And you can kind of see this European brings snow to the I-5 corridor here now towards SeaTac a little bit there, kind of leaving the Willamette Valley alone, but getting the coastal range here, continue to build up the snow across the Cascades of Oregon. Then on into Friday night, you can see that next system kind of blast the Olympics, get some of the North Cascades a bit more, bring a little bit of snow in the Puget Sound here, but not too much on this latest run. Here, I'll back out a little bit more and you can see Idaho on this map as well. Let's go northwest. Yeah, I mean, a little bit maybe in the valley there in Idaho. Definitely more snowfall in the higher terrain, which is always the case anyway. Sierra Nevada's getting good snowfall there. Yeah, it's not showing a lot of snow up there tonight. But if we put that European into motion, it shows a little bit getting up towards Everett there, if you look closely. Here, let's duplicate this so I can just zoom in on some of western Washington here. And you can see those totals. I mean, just east of Seattle, southeast, Covington, Kent, Spanaway, Tacoma, Olympia, south on I-5, Chehalis, Centralia down there. Gig Harbor, I mean, it's showing a little bit of snowfall as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, even out towards Gig Harbor there a bit. What are you guys seeing out there now? Is it snowing but just not sticking? So it looks like some drier air is actually making its way down from the north here too. You can kind of see it here on the Doppler radar. You kind of see this latest shift here in the last several loops. It looks like a heavier band kind of setting up over Seattle here. I mean, around sea level, this is probably not going to be that dynamic of a snow accumulation. But if you get a little bit, especially east of I-5, the higher terrain, if you go out east, southeast, and even down towards the interior of Olympia and down to the south, you can probably get in line for a little bit better snowfall here. Poulsbo Bremerton is sticking. Waiting and hoping in Lake Stevens. Yeah, most people are snow lovers, that's for sure. Coming down hard in Gig Harbor. Up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good girl. Oh, we got 286 people watching. That's not bad. Dog's licking my face. Let's go back to the Langley radar here. I don't even know what kind of winter tires I have. I think they're all season, but they're definitely not as, the tread on my tires are definitely not as big as they probably could be for driving around in the snow. But yeah, you look at the Langley Doppler here and you can see still more moisture out over the Pacific here. So it's just like it's such a cat and mouse game here with Arctic air around. I mean, the not the Puget Sound, the Pacific Ocean here, I mean, it's basically endless moisture. You run Arctic air off the coast of British Columbia here, you just basically continue to pick up Pacific moisture and bring it back into Washington and Oregon for as long as that Arctic air is taking that track. There goes my desktop fan again. Sultan, it's snowing. Thinking of a Tesla rear wheel drive. I'd get the all wheel if you could. I drove a rear wheel drive rental Tesla and it was spinning out pretty good just on wet streets. Snowing and sticking on the grass in Des Moines, Washington. Nice. I mean, I think any accumulation is probably going to be brief in Portland for the next few days because this air mass is warming up at the surface fairly well as it moves in, and the further south you're going to get. But I wouldn't rule out some brief accumulation. The dog's name is Lexi. She actually scratched my neck a little bit here last night. I'm ready for snow in Seattle, Tacoma. Yeah, the thing about SeaTac Airport is that when it doesn't even have to stick on the cement to mess up the airport, because all those plane wings, they come in from high altitude and the wings are pretty cold. And once they land, and if it's snowing, even if it's slushy and 33, the snow will stick on the wing, and you cannot have anything on the wing or the fuselage of an aircraft. You have to clean it all off before you go. So then the plane has to take extra time getting de-iced, and then you have to hope that you can get out in time and take off before your holdover time occurs after you get sprayed with the de-icing fluid. Yeah, there's potential for snow on Friday. We can actually take a look at that here as well. So this is looking at the 18Z European. Going through Thursday morning, snow finally tapers off here. And then Friday system comes along here and starts bringing more snow. You can see the potential is there across the Puget Sound. Again, there's this forecast for Friday is going to change quite a bit here on this system. So I would not make solid plans until you see at least tomorrow's forecast. And then you always got to stay on top of the forecast. But you can see potential for some more snow there across the region here. These are 3-hour chunks as I'm scrolling through. This would be Friday night at about 7 when it looks to start on the European model anyway. Hunter S asks about the setup. So here, let's take a look at this. Basically, almost every single setup for Western Washington is the product of Arctic air across British Columbia here, or Arctic air is taking a short track off the coast of the southeast Alaska here, and it moves over the Pacific Ocean and immediately back into the Pacific Northwest. And the deeper the Arctic air here is, the better trajectory it can take. So it can come off Vancouver Island or British Columbia, the Vancouver Island, and right back into Western Washington, and it picks up some of this moisture over the Pacific Ocean here, and it creates subtle troughing. You've got big high pressure over the interior that's kind of by default creates a trough here off Western Washington, and then you bring that air up and you rise it and cool it, and it will drop snowfall across Western Washington down towards Portland. And another scenario when it can happen is if you get cold air banked up east of the Cascades here, especially for Portland, you have a sea level gap here at the gorge. So if you bring a storm system towards the coast of Oregon, approaching from the south, you can really pull cold air out of the gorge here into Portland, and then you can get a really nice overriding event here where you're bringing Pacific moisture over the top of lower level, very cold air, and that can fall as snow across Portland, Willamette Valley here. And the same thing can happen when you pull cold air down through the Fraser River Gap there, and you bring a Pacific system from the south and bring Pacific moisture over the top of that. But almost every snow setup starts with Arctic air moving down the west coast of North America and taking the correct trajectory off the coastline of British Columbia back into Western Washington and Oregon. And there's some rare cases where you can get cold air like it comes from Asia and it moves quickly across the Pacific Ocean, and you bring a really strong frontal system into the Pacific Northwest, and you can get a longer trajectory if the frontal system is really strong, but it's usually not that big of a snow event. Yeah, the GFS almost always overdoes precipitation amounts in the form of snow especially. Yeah, Leif Nelson mentioned February 1989, and that is definitely true. I mean, you need cold air to really pack up north of us here. And let me just kind of, here, let's do this. Let's go ahead and show an example here of what happened in February of 1989. So let's back up to February. We're now in 1889. Some of you might not even have been born yet. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh, I messed it up. Okay, let's go back to February. Actually, January 31st here, 1989. Look at the surface pressure map. Now tell me what you see here. Jack S., welcome to Second Cheer channel support. Thanks for the support, Jack. Look at this. I mean, this just massive Arctic high over Alaska and the Yukon up here. And you can clearly see this just immense pressure gradient is that this troughing occurring over Vancouver Island, Western Washington, down towards Oregon here. Living in Key West at the time. Yeah, you missed it. I know a lot of people remember this storm. I mean, this is an extreme Arctic blast. So this is very early in the morning. And I believe it started snowing that... Actually, it started snowing the night before. That's right, it did. I remember I was living in South Seattle at the time. But if you put this into motion, you can see the troughing remain open and this Arctic high just sagging south. You can just imagine this huge, dense dome of Arctic air was just spilling out into western Washington. Yeah, we can look at 1996 as well. Let's look at that one also. You'll see some similarities here. Now we're going to go out to December. That was like Christmas night and the day after Christmas, if I remember that one correctly. Let's look at December 24th first and watch the synoptic setup prior. You can see the Arctic high over BC, the Yukon, and Alaska. I'll put this into motion a little bit here. Now, if you look closely, you'll see this Pacific storm out here, and there's Arctic air basically in place, if I'm not mistaken here. Let's go ahead and look at the 850 millibar temperatures. Yes, you can see the very cold Arctic air over British Columbia here aloft, but you can see the very warm Pacific storm out here. So we brought a whole bunch of moisture into a very cold air mass, and it actually brought freezing rain, a freezing rainstorm to Seattle. It brought big snow amounts to Seattle areas as well as British Columbia. 96, that was a big time storm. Let's put this into motion a little bit more. This is Christmas morning, Christmas afternoon. And this cold air was just kind of in place and pretty robust Pacific moisture riding up over Arctic air. Really an extreme situation here. Let's look at the precipitable water here. Yeah, you can clearly see it down the coastline here. I mean, imagine that very moist air mass moving into already Arctic air in place. Very intense. Let's look at surface temperature here. So we're going into Christmas night, and you can see that the freezing level all the way down towards Seattle, and just brutal cold Arctic here in the interior of BC there. 2 feet of snow in Briar, 1996. Yeah, February 2019 had a pretty extreme retrograde of Arctic air back into our area here. Let's look at 2019 February also. We'll look at here, we'll go to February 2nd here, and we're going to look at geopotential height. You can see the amount of Arctic air that was up there. And you can see the polar lobe that kind of reached back and just took a really nice trajectory off of BC here as well, back across Pacific Northwest. But this is almost always the scenario we get. You need this trajectory of the upper level winds to come off British Columbia correctly and back into Washington here. Very cold Arctic air across the region here really brought a nice storm. Not all the big snowstorms are during La Nina years. Very good question there, Jerome F. What we're looking at right here, February 2019, was not a La Nina year. So watch this. We're going to go to Google and we're going to do...
Bye, Dee.
Bye. So we'll look at 19 or 20... Actually, we're just going to do this. You can click here and look back a little bit more. But you can see all the La Nina and the ENSO. I'll just call it ENSO. You can see all the data all the way back to 1950. But if we look here at 2019, February 2019, we were in El Nino conditions. Let's drop down and take a look at that. There it is right there, February 2019. Actually El Nino conditions. So don't lose hope, because you're in an El Nino year here. You can get windstorms, you can get big flooding, you can get big snowstorms still. It's just not as prevalent as during La Nina years. And here we go, our latest La Nina streak here. You can see we've been in La Nina conditions now for the 3rd straight winter season. Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. Also, the 1968-69 winter extreme snowfalls here across the Puget Sound. And you can see we're in a pretty strong El Nino at that point. We were in moderate El Nino, and we still got it. So you can still break Arctic air down into the Pacific Northwest under the right circumstances during El Nino. I hear my kids yelling upstairs at the snow sticking. I'm going to look outside. I'll be right back, you guys. Yeah, we got snow sticking on the grass and on my deck and wood areas out there. It's not sticking too much on the street yet. Flakes onto wet pavement. Yeah, that's what's been going on for a while here too. Southeast, that's a good question also. I'm not sure what effects exactly. I can't speak that well on the effects for Southeast Alaska, but it would be cooler than normal generally, but maybe even a little bit drier than normal, depending on just how strong the La Nina is. So far southeast Washington. Yeah, let's scroll back out here so I'll take a look at some of the. So we're going to duplicate this map here and we're going to bounce out and we're going to go at a wider view of things here. 1.3 kilometer, and we'll look at just look at accumulated snowfall. 1.3 kilometer. Pretty intense resolution here. And you can see as we go on in through, well, this was put out this morning, so we're looking at 9 p.m. tonight. It looks like Spokane's going to be snowing early on in through the night tonight out there, and some snow maybe falling across central Washington here as well. What this must be Moses Lake here. It looks like, yeah, Snoqualmie Pass. That'd be I-90 Moses Lake. So maybe just north of I-90, maybe including I-90 as you get towards the east slopes of the Cascades there. But a lot of mountain snow coming up here. Traveling eastbound on I-90 would be a mess going through Spokane. That's for sure. If you're out there traveling, driving around. Could you show us some way to look at a low pressure develop in real time? Let's see. Let me go back at this and look here. How far back can I get this to go? Let's go 60 images. See if it goes back enough to look at our storm that went up here. But you can almost see in the flow here, these are little tiny mesoscale lows that develop as this Arctic air comes off of British Columbia here, moves over the relatively warm Pacific Ocean here. Kind of a little bit of a mesoscale low there, and another one may develop on the backside of that too. General troughing, you do have these kind of embedded little low pressure centers sometimes. It's still not fully loaded yet. You can hear my computer going nuts. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Just watch the satellite loops, but I'm trying to get one here. Let's see. I don't think it's going back quite far enough, but if you look at that, you can see the low pressure that developed here. This system moved down with the Arctic air, and as the system came down, the Arctic air spilled in off the British Columbia coast behind it here, and this was that powerful front was moving by. What is this about last night? This is before midnight last night. Just a wicked front moving across the sound. It's caused lightning strikes, all that heavy snow north of Seattle, power outages, big time snow up in the mountains. Yeah, it's better if you have Arctic air in place. It's definitely tough to get snow down to sea level when you don't have cold air in place, at least initially a little bit. We had a little bit of it yesterday before that frontal system came through, so that helped. Can you guys hear this fan from this desktop here? If anybody thinks it's not a good idea, I was going to put out like some kind of thing where I could do like a poll and try to raise some money to like get a new computer here, but I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't want to like offend anybody by asking for money for a computer. Well, that storm is still on for Friday night. It just depends on how progressive that storm is going to be, how much moisture it has to work with, and just how much we cool down on Friday. So it's going to be a lot of variables in play, as which the case is always the case with any kind of snow event we have. But actually, if I zoom out a little bit here, let's see if we can spot where Friday's storm is coming from here. Let's stop this for now. We'll go to the end of the run. You can see our little wave moving through this evening here. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the euro here. Let's do this. Let's go North America, and we'll do this is the 18Z run here. You can see the troughing now and kind of these little lows bouncing around here in the general troughing. That's kind of what we're dealing with this moisture continuing on through this evening. It's general troughing near the cooler air up here in British Columbia. And there goes Friday's system. So you can already see this is going to be Friday's system here. This is about where we are now. So Friday's system is somewhere up here. It's just crossing Alaska now. Coming down on the east side of this ridge here that's continuing to develop over Alaska here. Thanks, C Slate. Thank you for the support. I should put a note. Any money that you send me is going to a new computer, so I can... Sometimes I do these briefings and the computer fans get so loud that I have to stop and restart. But yeah, there goes Friday's system there. How much of this moisture will get into the Pacific Northwest here? What kind of temperatures are going to be in place prior to the event? What's the dew point going to be? How much are we going to cool down? What are the precipitation rates going to be like associated with this storm? All questions that we would need to know just who's going to get hit and just how hard with Friday's system. Not an extremely dynamic storm, but it doesn't take a lot to bring disruptive snowfall to the Pacific Northwest, as everybody knows. There's an app called NVIDIA RTX Voice that will filter out background noise from your mic. That would be nice too. Wind was crazy in the Willamette Valley last night. That was gusting pretty good here last night as well. So I'm going to take that off. We were looking at 2019 there. I'll leave it up in case we want to go back to that. Oh, let me check the Twitter here. I haven't checked it in a while. Let's see if anybody sent any more images in. Saw that one. We saw that one. This is Lakeland Hills in Auburn. Looks like below freezing there now. We saw the Pullman one. That's a nice scene right there. That's more than I got at my house. It's starting to stick a little bit, but not in the street like that. I think that was Maple Valley. I think that was Maple Valley too. That was Vancouver, BC. A little bit of Virga there. And this was down into Federal Way. So yeah, it is sticking around the area here in Puget Sound. Here's another one from University Place. That's not a bad accumulation there. Lake Cushman. Looks like a lot of snow out there. Looks like somebody's been plowing the road too. Nathan Gomez, thank you for the support, sir. Might need NVIDIA RTX for recording vocals. Yeah, it does that sometimes. This atomic shockwave asked out. Yeah, we'll go through this pattern where we're going to get, we'll deal with atmospheric rivers, maybe even another ridge. We'll dry out for a bit, then maybe we'll get some thunderstorm activity. Then we'll go back to rain, and then the polar lobe, the polar vortex will try to make another visit to the Pacific Northwest here. Small flakes, North Seattle. If there's a mountain range in central Florida, I mean, you'd probably get some crazy rainfall amounts up there if you had mountains in Florida too. Are we getting less snow in the last 100+ years to global warming? It's hard to say. Snow is such a fickle thing. Even if you raise the temperature, some places, if you raise the Earth's temperature a couple degrees, some places are going to get more snow than what they get now. If your average temperature goes from 26 to 28 because the planet warms for some reason, then you're going to introduce more precipitable water into that area, and then you're probably going to have higher moisture content, which would lead to actually higher snow amounts for that portion. But then other areas would start to get less snow as a general rule as well. So it'd kind of be like an ebb and flow thing. But eventually, if you warm the planet enough, then yeah, it would start to get significantly less snowfall. Yeah, volcanoes can mess the global weather pattern up as well. Mount Pinatubo, I know the Hunga Tonga launched a whole bunch of water vapor into the atmosphere, and they're still studying what effects that might have. Yeah, Florida's pretty crazy. That sea breeze is a pretty persistent weather feature down there. The land heats up and then it draws in moisture off the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. It kind of meets somewhere in the middle and you get these crazy sea breeze thunderstorms. I deal with those a lot when I'm dispatching flights to Florida. Yeah, there's give and take. If you had a warmer climate, especially some areas in the mountains would initially get more snowfall. Well, I mean, sometimes our snow events are kind of marginal here in Western Washington, though. And if we raise the temperature just by a degree or two, it would limit some of those snowfall events. I used to work graveyards. I've been there long enough now where I don't have to work graveyards anymore. It's very nice. If I work graveyards, I like to work only graveyards because then you can kind of prepare for it. But if you're really junior, then you've got to work mornings, graves, swing shifts. It can get kind of crazy. But once you build up your time, you generally can get what kind of shift you want. Could we become a hurricane zone? Well, probably not. It would take like a huge dramatic climatic shift here across the planet for hurricanes to get up here. We have a cold current here off the Pacific. All right, let's take another look at the Doppler here. I think this has been updating here. I mean, you can kind of see a back edge to this first wave here, but it is quite slow moving. But it looks like it just might be starting to taper off near Olympia here. But we may be getting some redevelopment here, as you can see, off the Washington coast. We may get a break at some point tonight and then reintroduce moisture back in as well. If we look at the Camano Island Doppler, it looks like some heavier snow went across. Then you can see this next band setting up. It's probably snowing pretty good at my house right now. I'm somewhere in this area. Looks like Federal Way, Tacoma, some of the islands out across the sound here. Highway 16 probably getting some snow. Lightning in Portland around 2:30 today. Yeah, I heard a couple of people say that now, so that's interesting. You got a thunderstorm. That's kind of cool. Some views around the sound this evening here shown. A couple of these from Maple Valley, Vancouver, BC, Federal Way. This is my home station. We are still at 33. It's like dew point's at 31. That's dropped off a bit. It was 33 a bit ago. Wet bulb's at 32, so what's falling should be snow. Does its own little forecast here calling for snow showers. Getting that cooler northeast wind here, but the temperature's pretty slow to fall. All right, we're going to do this. Let's see if this is up to date yet here. No? No, it's got to download again, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to give my computer a break and punch this back to 14 here. But yeah, it looks like this is probably the next wave that's going to try to move across southwest Washington at this evening for tomorrow morning. And if these little mesoscale lows come in a little bit stronger than what they're forecast, they can spread moisture over a wider area as well. Do a GoFund or donation. Computer and all things related for your... Yeah, that's what my wife was saying too. So that's probably a good idea. I'm a little bit hesitant about asking for money, but I feel better about it if it just goes to a computer and that's it, because I don't want to be like begging for money or something like that for myself. Yeah, here in Tillamook it went from 41 to 37. Nice. It is cooling off out there. Yeah, there's going to be some black ice around there. Brandon Smith mentions that. There's definitely going to be some black ice around and probably some slick spots. There's still snow falling, so it's probably going to be kind of treacherous out there tomorrow morning. Yeah, I don't know about sponsors yet. I mean, I don't know how that works. Does somebody just approach you and say, hey, we want to advertise on your channel? I don't know how that works exactly. Beg for my, yeah, my child's college fund. Black ice forming in Linwood already. Yikes. Yeah, radiational cooling, man, that will cool you down really quick. The problem with that, too, is you can look at your thermometer, it'll say 35 degrees, but right at the surface, it's actually 31. And then you get that black ice, and you start sliding around, and you're like, oh, I thought it was 35 degrees. But, yeah, that radiational cooling can get you. Let's update this, see if anything's changed here on the winter weather advisory front. Nope. Let's see here. So we're looking still up for Seattle. 24-hour estimated snowfall here, still the same. And here's this European as we go into tomorrow. Fraser River outflow is going to start at about tomorrow early morning. You see it start to come down, that flow out of the Strait of Georgia, out of the northwest, some cooler air moving into the region, then some northerlies all the way down the Puget Sound tomorrow. Probably going to keep us pretty cool around the Puget Sound. Hoping to get a little bit of clearing so I can go take the drone out in the mountains and drone some of that snowfall. Yeah, we had a lot of cancellations yesterday. Public domain, that's a good point. See, they see frost and it's 39 degrees. GG Evans, it's all business, friend. You're not begging, you're informed. Yeah, I mean, the computer I want costs like $2,500. That's the problem, because I need like a good graphics card to edit these videos and stuff like that. So I can't just go get a Dell from Best Buy is one of the problems. So I'd be able to edit, and I've got a lot of video on here. Like these videos I do daily kind of take up a lot of space too. But I mean, maybe I'll do that. I'll see. I'll talk to my wife, see what she says. She was trying to get me to do it today too, but we'll see. Yeah, that's something I was looking at, Nathan. The graphics cards are just nuts. I mean, it's like some of them I was looking at, they're like $700 just for the graphics card. It's like, that seems a little high. All right, thanks, Bonanza Transport. See you guys tomorrow. Listen to your wife. All right, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll probably just do a GoFundMe and just link it on here, something like that, just strictly for the computer. Hello from Whidbey. $40 for the phone. Yeah. Oh yeah, I bought a psychrometer off eBay there. I gotta pay that. I gotta pay that bill tonight. Almost forgot about that. Pamela Keys agrees. 2,500 not bad for a computer. Yeah, I wonder if there are going to be some cancellations around here. I mean, I can't, even an inch of snow that freezes is just really treacherous. So it looks like looks like there's a back edge to the stuff here though, coming tonight. But then again, there's going to be more behind this, so there might be like a several-hour break. And if we got any radiational cooling after this wave coming across here, that would really be bad, because then you'd set up the stage for some ice around. But if you notice, we click on the Langley radar here on the coast. You can see some more moisture out here, so the break might not be too long. And some of the models, like the Her model today was showing, I mean, it was just kind of nutty today. It was, if you look at it now, it shows this precipitation just kind of ending, and that's it, really, for areas. But I just don't believe that right off hand, because if you look at this morning's run, it kind of had nothing really coming in this afternoon and evening up through Seattle. It had something coming in later, but very light amounts and not really representative of what actually happened. So Yeah, the models are kind of in flux. It's very hard to pick up these small little waves with this moisture. The Weather by Cliff Mass recommend. Yeah, it's a good book. I was talking to Cliff today. We were emailing back and forth a little bit. Yeah, he does very good work. I consider him one of the few people that probably understand the weather a little bit better than I do around here. And it's not really bragging. That's just like, I've been doing this around here since I was 5 years old. And there was probably a period of 25 years where I read every single area forecast discussion that came out by the National Weather Service as I was going through college and stuff. And I would just kind of train myself on what kind of Puget Sound weather was going on. So yeah, you guys are in pretty good hands as far as the weather here across the Pacific Northwest. And Cliff Mass is a good source. Yeah, the HER likes to overdo a lot of things. I mean, it's just like last night it was saying 50-mile-per-hour gusts all the way up towards Seattle. That didn't verify, and it was just low 30s, maybe mid 30s. It just gets a little bit overzealous, and sometimes the UW high resolution model does that as well. The European I don't know, there seems to be something about models like the European that are not super high resolution, just kind of painting a little bit of a broader brush. Because in reality, when you start to get down into super high resolution models, we just don't have the data collection to really be able to predict things that accurately, especially on an hour-to-hour basis. It's really hard. You're asking a lot of a weather model to sit there and run every hour and then try to give you a clear picture of what's going on, especially at that kind of resolution. It's going to get things wrong quite a bit. And there's also things that happen like in the physics of the models where sometimes things aren't as developed as they could be. There's budget restrictions and all kinds of things that go on behind the scenes. So you don't really know why a weather model isn't as good as some of the others. Like the GFS, it covers the entire planet basically, and the funds are stretched out, and they're it's not as much input and not as much of attention paid to the GFS as the European, for example. And that's why the European kind of got an advantage, and they're maintaining it because they kind of get a little bit more attention to that model. And the GFS just kind of covers more things at the same time. I don't know where the European is processed, actually. I'm not sure. That's a good question. That'll probably spawn me to look it up now. Weather tech good, war tech bad. That is for sure. Yeah, the Pacific moisture, man. This Pacific Ocean right next to us. You get cold air in place here across the Western Washington, Oregon, and BC. It doesn't take much to start bringing some accumulating snowfall across the area. So is it still snowing out there, you guys? Let me see here. Yeah, Stadium High School in Tacoma. Check it out. Commencement Bay. Nice image video there. Port Orchard. Oh, you guys can't see these images here. Okay, here we go. I'll do this. Nice snowy scene there. What are they playing down there? Is that just some kind of practice? You can see the ship out there in Commencement Bay. That's nice. Look at the snow and the lights. That's pretty mesmerizing when you see snow falling and lights like that. Very nice. Yeah, we're just on the borderline of some of the snow sticking. We get another degree or two dropping, and that would be pretty nasty out there. I never got to meet Harry Wappler, no. I've talked to his son before at Cairo, but I never got to meet Harry Wappler before he died. Will school be canceled tomorrow? That's a question. That's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, especially some kind of a late starts, but it's not going to warm up that much tomorrow, so there could be some cancellations. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I'm going to do some more educational videos. If we wouldn't have got this active, I would have been doing my windstorm videos much more. But since the weather really picked up here, there's a delay on that, and then that puts a delay on the winter storms. I was going to do like the top 10 winter storms for the Pacific Northwest also coming up, but I will do that eventually. Yeah, Harry Wappler was, I used to watch him all the time when I was growing up. Yeah, Pacific Northwest. And that's the thing about living here too, is everybody lives at a different elevation. We live in different areas. Some people live close to the Puget Sound, some are in the foothills, some are north, south. There's so many different variables. I mean, the snow gradient sometimes is really extreme. Some people are like, yeah, it's snowing at my house and I got 3 inches. And other people are like, you know, are you lying? It's not snowing at all here. Yeah, it's going to get cold tonight east of the Cascades for sure. Highest jet stream speed I've ever seen. I've had planes actually going in jet streams over 250 miles an hour, I want to say. And they were actually close. They're actually above the speed of sound, I think the ground speed was, but not relative to the air. So there wouldn't be a sonic boom or anything. But I've seen guys up near 700 knots flying in planes across some of the most intense jet streams. Yeah, I'm native Seattleite, born and raised here. I lived in Hawaii for about 4 years, but I was always visiting, and I was still watching the weather and reading every single area forecast discussion here when I was in Hawaii, even doing, and I was working for Island Air out there, learning about Hawaii weather. My record is 700 ground speed. That's pretty fast too. But yeah, I've seen some guys getting up to 690, 700 knot range, I think, if I remember correctly. It's pretty rare. Your Highlander slid off the driveway. Um, yeah, I mean, it's going to stay cold tomorrow. There'll probably be some melting, but I don't know. If you're at 490 feet in Cougar Mountain, you might not thaw out that much tomorrow. Then Friday morning is going to be really cold also. And then you might not thaw out much until you get towards the weekend. Yeah, why is the snow not getting north of Everett? Yeah, it's just not that strong of a wave here, so you can kind of see it. It may at some point tonight, and it depends here. It might come up there a little bit tomorrow morning, but it's not expected. Oh, check this out, guys. Look at this. We got a thunderstorm here on the Washington coast, and it's almost certainly this bad boy right here. Look at him bulk up and produce some red on the Doppler here just off of Nia Bay. I wonder if anybody heard that. Somebody out in a cabin in here, maybe. I don't know. It's probably a little bit too far. Let's see. Yep, too far for land. You'd have to be out in a boat to hear that thunder. But yeah, thunderstorms moving up there towards Vancouver Island right now. That's pretty interesting. Click off that. Back up a little bit here. So let's back up and look at the satellite here then. Oh, it's not clicking off. Computer's being weird. So let's stop this, and here we go. So yeah, it's a slug of moisture here. And that kind of concerns me too, because obviously this is, developing. There's going to be another little meso low associated with this here. So this could easily spread snow through the Puget Sound later tonight, tomorrow morning. I wouldn't be totally shocked by that, especially with thunderstorm activity going on offshore there. We had a white Christmas in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, here when I was in Normandy Park. Yeah, I think 2017, there were some areas that had a white Christmas there. And I know we did in 2008, and I know we did in 1990. Yeah, my daughter's first Christmas, 2017, Sam Ratet. Not in Tacoma. Yeah, I'd take a thunderstorm and some snow tonight. That'd be nice. I saw lightning last night. That was pretty unexpected. Well, I mean, not totally unexpected, but it was nice to see. Got to leave Port Orchard to a job in downtown Seattle 3 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, I'd watch out for that, for the slick roads for sure. Yeah, thunder snow is awesome. Summit, 32. Snowfall slowing 2 inches on the ground, more standing on standing objects. Let's see if anybody else has posted any images here. Commencement Bay. Puyallup down near Fairgrounds. Oh, that's a nice scene there. Covington. Sam Katz. Here, let's do this. And bump this up. That's a nice Christmas scene out there. Obviously below freezing there in Covington. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some schools are canceled tomorrow. I mean, in some cases, when you only get an inch of snow and you get some freezing going on, it's actually worse than 3 or 4 inches of snow because, you know, that snow, when it's only an inch or so, you can really pack it down quickly and then it melts a bit on the road and then it refreezes and it gets pretty nasty sometimes. 3 inches in Bonnie Lake, nice. Temperature Saturday, I'm at Willows Run Golf. That's an interesting question. Where is Willows Run? I've heard that. I'm forgetting where that is though. But this is Friday morning here. You can see some mid-20s around there. Let's see when we start to warm up. So going on into Friday afternoon, upper 30s, Seattle. Some 40s, Willamette Valley. Do we get some warmer air in here or not? Look at this Saturday morning. We're not going to warm up too much Saturday either. Doesn't look like. But Saturday morning is going to be around freezing. Yeah, thanks for joining, Kyle. The lightning came from just the strong frontal system. You just had some really good vertical motion there in that front when it was coming on shore there. And that was over kind of Kitsap Peninsula there as it moved off to the north and east. JP slapped Harry's weatherboard and knocked the magnets off for today's temperature live. I don't remember that. That's funny. Heated vest. I've heard of those. So yeah, so we're not going to warm up here Saturday. Let's go on into Sunday morning. Again, chilly Sunday morning. Look at some 20s around. Let's back out to the 12Z Euro and see when we finally start to warm up a little bit here. Sunday afternoon, not warming up much then either, and another cold overnight low into Monday morning. Wow, look at some of Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon. Pretty chilly. Man, even on into next, look at this Monday afternoon, still not warming up much. Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday, we hit 41 at Seattle. Look at the Willamette Valley into the low 40s. There you go. Is that warm enough for you? Looks like it starts to warm up maybe Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Another thing we can check here too is, let's do this. This goes out 10 days. There's Bellingham for you. Some pretty chilly overnight lows through about Tuesday morning. Then we warm up a bit. That's a pretty good stretch of cold weather, though. Not bad. Cold is a privilege, yes. Yeah, I mean, you might get some lower 20s for Seattle still. I mean, look at Seattle, Tacoma here in the European, talking about some temperatures down near 20 here later this week. Yeah, we didn't get the Arctic air trajectory, just missed us a bit here. I mean, but some areas up north got some pretty good snow, so you can't really count it as a full miss of the Arctic air here. JP sat on my lap at the Ellensburg Rodeo Parade in 1976. Nice. Yeah, a warm lap cap, that'll warm you up. Yeah, with La Nina around, I would be really, really surprised if we don't flirt with Arctic air again at some point this winter. And just so everybody knows, meteorological winter starts tomorrow. So that's just kind of an interesting feature there. But the solstice, of course, is what, December 21st or 22nd, something like that. Let's check out Portland. 20s. Still chilly on through mid-December there. Quileute. Vancouver, BC. This is in Celsius, so those negative temperatures are below 32 Fahrenheit. Here, let's check this out. Look at Spokane. Chilly. Single digits possible coming up here later this week and this weekend. So pretty cold Arctic air, just not the great trajectory across the region. JP Patches. Yeah, YouTube JP Patches. Kind of a weird dude, but you get used to him if you lived in the Pacific Northwest for a while back in the day. So yeah, we can take a look at that Greenland block again there. So this was the recent European. I talked about this a little bit this morning. Where this is at the upper levels of the stratosphere here. This is the highest 10 millibars of the atmosphere. And just to give you reference, if you're at the surface, the average surface pressure for the planet is 1,013 millibars. So you can see we're in the very highest, like 1% of the atmosphere here looking here. This is called the stratosphere. Northern hemisphere here. Put this into motion. It starts to get interesting here as you build a really big ridge, which kind of connects all the way. Well, it did earlier a little bit more, but this is going to equal a surface ridge all the way here across Alaska, which will continue to help try to guide some colder air down into Western Canada here. This has been showing for several days now, so it's kind of interesting. And this is the polar vortex, and usually it's centered over the northern hemisphere here, and when it's stronger, it tends to remain bottled up here. You get these strong westerlies here at about 60 degrees latitude north, and that's what we measure the polar vortex by. So this is a pretty big disruption here, and you've got a split polar vortex here. So this could continue to bring some cold air down into Western Canada, but my confidence in that is not that high at this point. I mean, there's other factors into play just besides building this ridge here and just automatically assuming that we're going to have cold weather across Western Alaska. Megan 71, welcome. Uh-oh, we got somebody we got to mute. There we go. Got him. Sam called the snow by the end of November. Here, let's look at here, let's do this. Let's see how this translates into surface pressure here. See, this is what we're looking for here. This is always what you want in the Pacific Northwest. Northern hemisphere is here. Look at this low pressure system, by the way, out in the extended of the European. That's pretty crazy. That's a huge storm out there off of Vancouver Island. But this ridging here is kind of what you want out over Alaska, out over the Pacific Ocean here. Helps drive down these storms toward the Pacific Northwest. That's if you want wild weather here in the Pacific Northwest. Some people don't like that. So I got to be careful because every time I speak, it's in the term of, or in the context of wanting severe weather here. So I got to be specific sometimes. But yeah, you can see that ridge still over Alaska through the extended here and start to move back down around. Looks like it would start to form another Arctic high, and where that would go, nobody knows at this time. But you can see the really high pressure here across Greenland too. And you can imagine the clockwise flow here around the high pressure, counterclockwise around the low. Big storm out of the Pacific here. So maybe we'll get a huge windstorm in the 10-day period. Who knows? Yep, no problem. Thanks, guys, for coming along here tonight. Natural gas commodity traders. Yeah, there's those guys, those commodity traders are always trying to figure out what's coming up in the extended forecast there. It can make a big difference. You know, if you get a huge Arctic outbreak across the west or the east, you really change the kind of energy that people use, natural gas, coal, all kinds of stuff. You know, it helps to know that in advance. Not in the traditional sense we don't get severe weather. I mean, once in a while we'll get severe thunderstorms. Every few years they'll roll by here once in a while, so not in that sense. But we get severe windstorms. We get severe Arctic outbreaks sometimes. Puyallup Spanaway could get a few inches overnight and tomorrow morning if you're not already starting to have snow stick now. That's the problem. When I look at past weather here, and you can see it's really hard. Here, I'll go up towards the northern hemisphere here, and I'll try to... Oh, what happened here? I lost my... There we go. Looking at the northern hemisphere here on this map is really hard to look at setups. You can see this map that it brings us here. You can see Russia over here, Pacific Ocean. And it's really messed up here. It's hard to tell exactly where these lobes are situated. And you go over here and you can't really see a view from the northern hemisphere. But we can look back really quickly here. If you look at February 2019 though, for example, let's go to mean sea level pressure here. And it doesn't always equate the same way also. I mean, you can see the Arctic high over central and western Canada here as that snowstorm. But it's hard to tell when I don't have the data to look at the northern hemisphere there. I'm going to have to try to find somebody that can do this data by themselves and like show a better view, like what WeatherBell does here. That northern hemisphere view would be much more beneficial to look at past events and see what kind of action was going on downstream or upstream. Yeah, that's why the settlers settled in Seattle there too. I mean, a lot of times you get blocked by the biggest storms. You're right on sea level. The snow's not as deep, etc., etc. Yeah, Friday's system's worth watching here, and you might even get some snow coming across the area tonight. It's hard to say. This is the Langley Doppler here, and like we talked about, it spawned this thunderstorm you can see here. So that means there's some energy coming on shore now. I don't know how this will translate. It's hard to say. We do have some colder air in place here across the area. So it's always tricky when we have these systems, and I'll show you what I mean here. Back out a little bit more to the infrared satellite imagery. And again, you can see all this cold air spilling off of BC here, and you get these little mesoscale lows and this energy and little instability going on at the surface here. And we've got a wave moving through right now that's bringing all that precipitation, mainly Seattle south. But you can see the next batch reaching across the area here. Let's put that into motion. So this is going to swing through tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if much of the area got some snowfall as we go through the night tonight. But you can kind of see the axis of this low here, and it's kind of swinging, starting to swing a little bit south. So eventually this is going to cut off and this activity is going to slide south. But how much of this moisture will get in here before that happens? I mean, Arctic oscillations kind of vary. It'll vary over a couple week period. Then you're not going to stay in a certain oscillation for long. So you'll get variability during the year. You guys can see how cold the air is over the northern portions of BC here too on the infrared satellite imagery. It's seeing this cooling down. You can see that cold Arctic air dropping down to the region here. So basically the air at the surface here across some of the areas north British Columbia here is becoming the same temperature as some of these high cloud tops, extremely cold. Hello from Bainbridge Island. Can I explain what the convergence zone is? So convergence zone, quickly, Olympic Mountains are here. Here's the Puget Sound right there. When we bring a northwesterly flow, these low-level winds don't run over the mountain here, but they go around. So they'll come down the Strait of Juan de Fuca here, and you'll still get some southerly or westerly flow through the strait, the Chehalis Gap here is another gap, another low-lying gap. So you'll get winds that come through the Strait of Juan de Fuca, around the Olympics from the south as well. And they'll meet up in the convergence zone here across the Puget Sound. When those winds run into each other, the air rises. You cool the air. You get clouds. Precipitation starts to fall. You can get thunderstorms. You can get low snow levels during the convergence zone in the winter time. You get some pretty good thunderstorm activity, also small hail. And you can be clear on both sides of those convergence zones sometimes too. It shows up nicely sometimes on the satellite imagery of the convergence zone across the Central Sound, and you got north and south sides in the clear. Snowing like crazy in Home, Washington. Global Modeling and Assimilation Office. I'll have to look that up too. What's the difference between salt and fresh water? I guess that salt water has salt in it. I'm not sure. 1.25 inches and heavy in Federal Way. Lucky. I wonder if it's sticking outside my house here. But you guys talked me into it. I'm going to do a little GoFundMe thing just for my computer, and I'll show you everything that I buy with the money that goes into that GoFundMe. I'll try to raise a little money. So you guys could probably hear my computer struggling here. I know that you guys could kind of hear that earlier. This computer is really old, and if this thing dies, then my whole briefing thing is going to go down in flames here, so I need to get that fixed. The convergence zone does shift. The prevailing winds work into that. So if you get a more of a westerly flow, the convergence zone is going to a little bit further north, or southwesterly flow, the convergence zone will be further north. Once you start to turn that from the northwest, the convergence zone can slide down the central Puget Sound. I don't have any videos explaining everything in detail. I probably should do that at times too and explain the UTC time that I talk about. I do that out of habit from aviation. I got to break myself of doing that and just do the conversion in my head and then talk to you guys in more of a local time frame, because it doesn't really help to say UTC. Then you guys have to translate what I'm saying. That would be a good video too. The best thunderstorms of the lowlands. We have had some pretty good thunderstorms across here. Some pretty good lightning storms. Yeah, the amount of windows probably doesn't help. That's probably true as well. Yeah, new student pilot. Yeah, I used to teach aviation weather at Green River for a while there. Oh yeah, the Pacific Ocean is just pretty warm. It doesn't really ever get that cold. So anytime you bring the air immediately off the Pacific Ocean, it's usually warm enough to warm it up at the surface. I have not done a video on the Port Orchard tornado, but actually, have you guys seen this? Let me go ahead and do this here really quick. See if I still have this here. This is about the Port Orchard tornado. I'll show you something here that I captured on film. If I can get this to run. Here we go. I believe this was it here. So if you guys look up to the right here, you see this huge cumulonimbus cloud there? This is my house looking out over the Puget Sound. This was the Port Orchard tornado. This was that thunderstorm that created that tornado. So I actually caught this wicked storm on film here. And it's the only shot of it other than the little bit of footage that you see, like of the actual tornado near the Walmart out there. But that is, you can see it going by there, the blue sky on the south side of it. That is the Port Orchard tornado storm. That spawned the tornado there, and you can see it move by. I was pleasantly surprised when I got home and the camera captured it so well, because a lot of times there'll be clouds obscuring lower level clouds here, but it exposed itself pretty nicely that day. But anyway, so I'm going to get I'll probably end the live stream here now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll show the Doppler here one more time. There's probably a back edge coming in here, folks, as you can see. It is slow moving, though. It is pretty slow moving, so it could snow another hour or two around the area here. But then there's more stuff coming in here as well. And you see it's got a little bit of a punch to it, too. There's a thunderstorm up here that you saw off of Nia Bay. I mean, you might see some snow down there towards Portland or Vancouver, Washington, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of accumulation, at least not for according to the National Weather Service down there also. New streets covered in Federal Way. Follow the Weatherman too. He's on Twitter all the time as well. He's handling the Federal Way, South Sound area down there also. Yeah, I don't even know what that HARP is. That's like... Is that like the weather control computer that supposedly is out there? But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna end the stream now. I'll eat some dinner and get ready for tomorrow's briefing and whatnot. And I'll put that GoFundMe for the computer up there so I can just at least get something going here before this computer explodes. You guys can probably hear the fan just working like crazy over there. Yeah, there's something more coming out here. This may not reach us till after midnight here, but there's something is on the way. And the European kind of shows this moisture hanging out through tomorrow morning. So watch out for that. And there might be some freezing across the street. So watch out for that black ice too with the melting going on right now. That's a huge threat to people out there driving around, is that black ice. Probably not much. You might see it snow, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of accumulation down there towards Portland. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for coming by in the live stream, you guys, tonight. If it's snowing like crazy tomorrow, check in and, I'll do my briefing. Then if it's snowing on in through tomorrow or the Friday storm, we'll see how that trends tomorrow morning as well. Kind of waiting for that nighttime Euro here tonight to look at Friday's storm a little bit closer. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.